Happy holidays, everyone. This is Ring the Damn Bell. Of course, I am your host, KG, and the co-host, my co-host, the wrestler enthusiast, Mark. Man, how was your Christmas?
It came and went. I lived. That's all I ever asked.
Pretty much here, same thing as well. Went to Louisiana for my to celebrate with my family, first time in 20 years, and it was great seeing my little sister, my brother-in-law shared lots of laughs. But I was ready to get back home, get back to do what we do best, which is recap wrestling. We were kind of at a week hiatus here, week and a half hiatus, but we are now back and we are coming in strong with, of course, the recap of World's End last night. And I tell you, at first, I had my doubts if this was going to be a good pay-per-view. I was a little doubtful that AEW was going to once again bring us a great pay-per-view, because they bring us great previews, lack on their weekly shows, always great pay-per-views. And last night I thought was the night that their luck would run out with the pay-per-views, but man, was I wrong, because it seemed like they picked it up high gear after the second or third match.
Way to jump on that grenade, because you knew I was going to throw you under the bus.
Hell yeah.
Watched it last night, and about the fourth, fifth match in, probably about the fifth match in, Kevin's like, this is probably the worst pay-per-view I've seen. I go, what? Shut up. I said, and then later on, he's like, oh no, this they redeemed himself. And I said, I'm still going to throw her under the bus.
Yeah, and I tell you what, this may not have been the best match of the night, but it was the most surprising match of the night, which was Monet versus Statlander. Matter of fact, at the beginning of the match, I'm going to be honest, as they're coming out, both you and I decided this was going to be a good cigarette break, because we didn't think we'd miss much. And we came in right about where we were starting the match, and we were surprised. This turned out to be one hell of a match. Maybe not the best match, but nonetheless, one hell of a match.
I wrote my notes that it was probably the best match I'd seen Monet wrestle.
Absolutely.
It wasn't somebody carrying her. It was actually a good match.
Yes, let's get to it.
All right, so AEW World End. You know what? I don't have a whole lot of notes because I didn't take a whole lot of notes. I was enjoying the show. But we started with Kyle Fletcher versus Will Ospreay. I really thought for an opening match, they shouldn't have started with this one, but it was a great match. It really was. I was hoping for Kyle Fletcher to win. I really was. I thought, they kind of led us to believe that Fletcher was going to be the golden child on this one. But Will Ospreay pinned him.
Yeah, and before I put my 2 cents in about this match, I have to apologize to someone because first thing I wanted to do was to mention them because of the fact that he did such a great he did such a good job on the art, which is our new logo here. See if I can get out of the way real quick. This guy, he came in and he did this without me asking him to do this, and I really, really appreciate it. This is our new logo. He actually drew two of them. One of them I'll be setting markup with, but really, really a good job. So, gentlemen, his name is Shane Whitmore, and I tell you what, man, this guy is super talented when it comes to art. So, Shane, shout out, man. Thank you so very much for doing this. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you following us, and you and I will be talking very soon, my friend. Back to the recap, though. I agree. This man, they started this pay-per-view very strong, putting on this match as the very first match. And I know here, in the past, however long, the first match has become just as important, almost as important as the last match. But You're also taking the crowd, the fans on a ride. And a lot of times it's dangerous to start them up way up here. If your rest of your pay-per-view isn't that strong. And that's what happened last night. They started way up here. It was a great match, and I too wanted
Fletcher.
uh yeah, Fletcher to win the match. Look, and I'm a huge Will Ospreay, huge fan of his. He is in my top three favorite wrestlers right now. But Fletcher has been doing such a great job, man, and he is so hot as a heel right now that I really thought that him winning would be better than Ospreay winning. Um, but we see no, he Ospreay won. I still was so happy with that match, but I thought it was dangerous starting the fans off way up here because you talked about what I said, the third or fourth, whatever match it was, with me saying, I don't know if this is going to be AEW. This may be AEW's first pay-per-view. And I think a big part of that was the fact that they started us way up here. And then the other matches that followed, it wasn't that they were bad, they just wasn't as good. And it was after that third or fourth match, whatever, that we see them go back way up here and they really picked us up. So, but yeah, it started off really hot. This match was great. I love the match. Surprised that we had color that quick, but nonetheless, good match.
Right. All right. So next we go to Ricochet versus Okada. Another good match. And I really thought they shouldn't have led with these first two matches, but you know, hats off to them. They pulled off two great matches in the first two matches. You know, um, after the match, Swerve came out to kind of dog. Well, Swerve and Prince Nana came out to dog Ricochet, and they kind of solidified him turning heel. I think,
Yeah,
and they did a wonderful job just dogging his ass.
I tell you what, I'm going. Look, I've been since WWE days very critical of Ricochet because I don't know how many fans watched the wrestling show that he was on Netflix. The name skips my mind. Um, but he was just so amazing on that show. And then when he came to AEW, I mean to WWE, he wasn't Puma anymore. He didn't have that mask on, and I didn't think that he was delivering the way he was delivering previously, where I really loved Ricochet as Puma, right? But after seeing his heel turn on AEW and just how good he is with his facial expressions, how he's carrying his body just like this slimy piece of shit, right? Um, I have to believe that him not delivering the way I know he delivered on WWE had to be because of his booking and the way that they were writing him, the storylines with him on WWE. Because man, he is like watching a whole different person on AEW. To me, being a heel is much more than just grabbing a mic and saying things to get cheap heat. Ricochet has been getting this heat, not just because of his mic skills, the things he says, but again, because of how he carries himself and just the things that he's doing. So props to Ricochet for that. I'm really enjoying his run on AEW. But man, look, the Rainmaker, this was the right call to have him win this match, which led to another phenomenal match. But I like Rainmaker, and I think last night we unofficially, officially seen him turn to a babyface last night. So
Swerve?
no, the Rainmaker.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm
no, you're good. But hey, man, I got 3 for ribbies too. It's hard to tell them no. Now with Swerve coming out, man, I love Swerve. But I tell you, as much as I love Swerve, Prince Nana has a lot to do with Swerve's success. I mean, I'm sorry, guys, if you disagree, but he absolutely does. And Prince Nana is a gem within itself. I mean, when he started passing out the toilet paper last night and just the little things he was saying, um, it really tickled me. And he had both of us laughing. So, props to Prince Nana as well. But I am looking forward to this feud and these matches that we're going to have between Swerve and Ricochet.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right, so next we go to Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa. This one was probably, it wasn't disappointing, but it wasn't as exciting as I wanted it to be. Um, I don't think I was really disappointed in any match last night, but this was probably the one that I wanted to see more and didn't get it. You know,
Yeah, Whit.
um, I'm gonna keep it short on this one. Mariah May won the match. And it was a decent match. I'm not gonna sit there and say different, but again, we were brought up with two strong matches, and you know, it's hard to follow that. It really is.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short as well. Look, um, and I say this with all due respect. Um, this was the worst match on the pay-per-view, and I'm not saying that because it was a bad match. It was a good match, but because of all the other matches, that was the first two that was really strong, and then the matches after that followed those the that match, it was definitely the worst match in the most positive or the best way I could possibly say it. Good match, but not as good as what we've seen from on the as far as the rest of the matches.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to say it was the worst match because it was a good match, but if you're gonna give it a grade, it was probably a C plus. At best case scenario, B minus, I think. And even so, it was a good match, but it didn't reach the level that the other matches did. So it's kind of hard to say it was the worst match because it's an inaccurate statement in itself. But I understand where you're going. All right, so next we have MJF versus Adam Cole. This one was kind of up and down, and at one point you said, "Oh, the crowd's not into it because they really don't care about this." There's some truth to that because the storyline's been a year plus in the making. You know, there's very few feuds I think that can go a year and pull it off. This isn't one of them. Unfortunately. Is it a good match? Yeah, it was a good match. MGF plays a great heel. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think at some point in time, the crowd was actually cheering for him. Um, MGF got the win through kind of shenanigans or whatnot. And then we see the Undisputed come out, almost every one of them, um, and kind of take their retribution on MGF. And so at the end, he was left in the middle of the ring, basically out cold. And the Undisputed walked out holding their head up high, basically.
Yeah, so this is the problem that I have with this entire thing. First, and you're dead on about there being a few that could last a year long and you still keep the fans' attention. The only feud I've ever seen that happen was with The Rock and John Cena. But a whole year, that whole year. Um, but this is the thing, and this is to me why the crowd stopped caring. You had Adam Cole turn on MJF, right? And then Adam Cole gets hurt, and then he's gone. But then all of a sudden, when he comes back, he's this baby face, and all of a sudden, MJF was a heel, which he did a heel turn a few weeks, however long it was before Adam came back. But it didn't make any sense. And then on top of it, you tried to make us believe that Adam Cole was the good guy for turning on MJF because he just kind of thought that MJF would turn heel on him. So he decided to betray his friend before he even knew what MJF was going to do. And then, of course, in the though, it may have been the Go Home show or a week before that, that MJF and Adam Cole finally get in the ring together to confront one another, and then Adam Cole gets MJF to accidentally say, "Your damn right is going to turn on you," right? It wasn't believable, even in the world of disbelief. It wasn't believable to me. And this is a feud and an instance where you have whoever is the creator for AEW treating fans like we're stupid, right? And the fans just didn't care about it no more. This really, to me, this whole feud has hurt Adam Cole. He has lost a lot of the that stardom that he had with the fans because he was getting booed last night as well. So yeah, I didn't care about it, and I think a lot of fans didn't care about it. And look, we're talking about something with MJF where I'm saying I don't care about it. MJF, the guy who's probably the best heel we have seen in decades. He is just a great entertainer or performer, professional wrestler, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, it was a decent match. And as you're talking about that match, Mark, I started to think about what I just said about the match with Mariah May, being the worst match of the night. And that really made me question that call of, was it or was it the MJF and Adam Cole match?
Yeah, yeah. Now looking back, you could be right. You could be right. You know, and again, it's not like the match was bad. It wasn't. It just
Right.
lost its star power. You know, so I mean, it was a decent enough match. I'm not going to sit there and say different.
Where they really lost me was and this is when I knew that I did not care about Adam Cole the way I used to, is when the Undisputed Era, came out and they started kicking the shit out of MJF. And this is man, look, this goes back to what I constantly say about AEW, where they don't know the difference between what baby faces do and what heels do. That was a heel move, an absolute heel move, where MJF, who is the heel, gets jumped by a group of baby faces. That's just not wrestler. That's just not professional wrestling formula. Um, and I didn't like it. None. And on top of it, these guys that are part of this new, and they've not officially came out and said they're the new Undisputed Era. I'm going to call them that because I think that's where they're headed. I don't care I don't care about most of them. I don't. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen, but I think this is going to follow dead.
Yeah, I don't see where they're going to go after this. To be honest, um, unless the undisputed turns into some sort of four horsemen, type, um, I don't see them going anywhere. To be honest,
Jesus
so
Christ, do not even say the name Four Horsemen with these guys because they couldn't wipe the asses of the Four Horsemen. I mean, they're not even nearly being that good.
oh, I knew that would sting. All right. So, anyways, next we go to Hobbs versus Takeshita. Again, good match. Hobbs really showed a lot, I think, in that match. To be honest, I saw a lot more out of Hobbs than I have in previous years. You know why they don't do much more with this guy? Because this guy's just a brick shit house. You know, I mean, with all that power and size, this guy should be just plowing through people. But AEW's got that track record. Wardlow and Power Hobbs and Brian Cage. They got these big guys that just should be terrorizing people, and they got them losing the guys have to say, well, Takesha's not that small, but they're losing against guys they shouldn't be losing against.
Yeah, and before I talk about this match, we didn't mention the pre-show 0 hour
No,
where they had Action Andrade and his tag team partner
Leo Rush.
Leo Rush actually defeated, you know, Brian Cage and the Mad Hawk, right? Look, we have to talk about, well, it's professional wrestling. You have to be able to choose, suspend your disbelief. there's not a world within my suspension of disbelief that this could even happen. This was terrible, terrible. And although Private Party being the tag champs isn't necessarily my favorite thing happening in AEW, I think that I may think about being done with AEW if they allow Private Party to drop their titles to these two guys. Because, as good as Leo Rush and Action Andrade may be, they are not even close to being as good, or they're not as close to being that team that could carry those titles and represent AEW as the tag team titles, tag team champs.
Right.
Now, as far as this goes with Hobbs, man, this was absolutely Hobbs's best match, I think, since he's been with AEW. Um, the crowd was solidly behind Hobbs, and he put on one hell of a show last night. This was a really, really good match. I was hoping that he would win, but at the same time, I'm not angry that he didn't.
Isn't this the match where the crowd started chanting, "Just be careful"?
Speaking of, I'm glad you brought this up. There's been a lot of different chants that I have heard in professional wrestling since I've been watching it for 40 plus years, right? Never, and I mean never, have I heard fans say or chant, "Please be careful," when there was almost a mishap on the top rope. And they said it twice.
Oh,
When they went to do it again 5 minutes later. And man, this I got a kick out of that. That was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
yep, it was. All right, so next we go to Statlander versus Monet. We already touched on this match, so there's really not much to go for further on this. It was a good match. Monet, you know what? A little bit more respect for her after this match. I never doubted her ability. Never doubted her ability. I just her persona. She's doing her job because I absolutely despise her. So she's doing her job, but this match really kind of gave me a little bit more respect for her.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add, about this match, because we did briefly talk about it, is this: that the finish, whatever she calls that move, it was a very different way to pin somebody.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, and you know what? Props for her for coming up with that move to pin her opponent.
yeah. It's kind of hard to get one past me when I've been watching for 40 plus years, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody pin somebody that way. I mean, she was on her stomach, and Statlander was on top, and Statlander's shoulders were down, and I'm like, what the hell? I've never seen that before. So yeah, props for pulling off a move I haven't seen before. All right, so next we go to Okada versus Osprey. Again, great match, great match. Oh my god, uh, Okada got the win. I was really kind of hoping for Will to get it, but you know, Okada is just a gem. There's nothing else to say. He's just a gem, and by God, they should make him a world champion. They really should. We talked about this last night. I don't think there's ever been a Japanese wrestler that's been a world champion in the United States. I could be wrong. I think we Muda. I think we
Buddha.
was possibly a world champion, but I think, and please anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was during that transaction or transition of NWA going to WCW, and they gave that big gold belt the international title or something. And I think that's what Muda had, but I'm not sure. But Muda, if anybody was world champion, probably was Muda. Other than that, I don't recall a Japanese wrestler being in a major promotion being a world champion.
Yeah. I mean, this was amazing, and yeah, Okada. I mean, you can never go wrong if you see Okada's going to be in a match. That's always going to be a match worth watching. But I mean, look, both him and Osprey. I mean, this was a very stiff match because there's some hard hitting um hits go there. But even in the match that um that Ospreay was in with Kyle Fletcher, right? I mean, that was a hard hitting match too, because the first thing I noticed was the bruising Ospreay had already on his, you know, just chest and sides. I mean, I mean, he went through hell last night, and props to him for having two hard hitting matches and still able to go the way he did. But yeah, this probably has to be the best match of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, it probably was. You know, Akata always comes across as kind of like a sleeper to me, but he always pulls off some surprising matches, and he seems kind of lethargic in his movement, but every now and then he gets spurts of energy and he does something crazy, and it's like holy cow, you know. And he did that a couple times last night. I don't remember what, but you know, he did a couple things that just kind of just threw me in like, wow, that doesn't seem in his repertoire, you know. But he always seems to surprise me because he doesn't appear to be the way he is sometimes. I guess I don't know if that makes any sense. So you there?
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, there's nothing more I can say than what you said. I agree. I mean, you know, you look at Okada, and I said it last night. Here's someone else too that doesn't look like he would be a professional wrestler. He looks like he'd be someone working in a bank or something. So you know, if it's the first time you're hearing a name like Okada, you've never seen him wrestle before, and you just go by appearance, I guess people want to judge and say, what kind of match is this going to be? No, but I'm going to tell you, do not cheat yourself, because this guy, I mean, he is absolutely current day, he's in the top five as far as best professional wrestling right now, in my opinion.
Yep, probably. All right. So next we go to Mox, Orange, Page, and White. Um, they took a couple barbs at WWF on this one when they put Mox up in the Shield like power bomb through the table. I was like, wow, that was a slap in the face, but okay, I'll take it. The match was decent. I thought it should have gone longer than what it did. Um, it was rather short. I thought it was probably what 10 minutes, 15 tops. You know, for a four-way dance, I really thought it should have gone further than that. Seeing Jay White drop Maria on her head was kind of worthwhile. You know, no one likes to see a guy dump on a girl, but you know, it was accidental because he didn't know it was a woman. He just spun around and dropped somebody. Um, but I'll let you get into the highlight of it after the match.
Yeah, well, you're supposed to match with, you know, when it ended, I was like, wow, really? This was the match? And again, not that it was a bad match, but you know, it left a lot to be desired initially. That's what we initially said. I even made the comment that, wow, if this is the way they're going to end this pay-per-view, this may really hurt them, because this was not a good way to end it with a short four-way match with the four people they had in it. But once again, AEW, they delivered on their pay-per-view. We heard the music of FTR come out. And then if you looked at the FTR, the name, you seen FT alt rated R. And we all knew what was happening next. Edge came out, and man, I tell you that these three men looked really good together. They looked like they belonged on the same team. And man, all three men, you could tell, have hit the gym.
Oh yeah,
They look phenomenal, and they look phenomenal in the ring. They brought it to the Death Riders. I hate that fucking name, the Death Riders. They brought it to the Death Riders, and yeah, and Edge at the end, his promo, it was absolutely, it was wonderful. He made John Moxley look like a chump. I want to go back real quick to you talking about the shield drop that they did. I don't know if anyone else besides me and Mark, I'm sure you guys did, notice John Moxley's back when he came back, the blood that looked like went all the way down his back. Man, did that look like that was a bad injury. Obviously, it wasn't. And I told this to Mark. I think that it was more of that brush burn that he got because you get a brush burn, you do see a lot of blood just rise to the top, but it's not dripping, but it made it look really bad. Thankfully he wasn't hurt, but that added to the match. It really did, and it really made you say, "Holy shit, Moxley is much tougher than what we even thought." For him to get back in the ring and to keep going that way, right? Or and this occurred to me today actually before we did this pay per view. Or we were talking about how short this match was, which seemed weird. Or maybe Moxley did really hurt himself, and this is why they had to call an audible and in this match uh, at the time that they did. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully it was just a short match because they wanted to give Edge and FTR that time that they needed to do what they had to do. But there is a possibility that Moxley something kind of went wrong and Moxley did get hurt. I haven't been able to look that up yet, but I'm going to look that up. And if he did get hurt, I'm going to post it on our Facebook page, which is RTDB at Facebook. Please follow us on there, and I drop news, wrestling news on there. I'll be working on that this afternoon, and of course, please subscribe to our channel. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it looked great. Edge looked really good, and so did FTR. So I am actually kind of looking forward to this. This will be the first feud with the Death Riders since they became the Death Riders that I'm actually now looking forward to. Nothing against Heyman, Adam Page, Jay White, Orange Cassidy. There was just something missing with that particular feud for me. This feud it feels right, and I'm looking forward to it.
Now, going back to something you said in the past, you want to be left on kind of a cliffhanger where you want to say, "God, I can't wait for Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite or whatever." All right. Last night I said, "No, I can't wait for Wednesday." And it's been a while since I said that about a wrestling show. I've struggled probably the last 2 months, 3 months to really get into wrestling. I still watch it because it's habit and I enjoy it, but I don't have that enthusiasm. All right. Well, I still lack some of my enthusiasm, but now I'm curious what Wednesday's going to bring. And God damn it, I hope I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, there was a pay per view a couple of months ago that we both said we couldn't wait for Dynamite. And Dynamite came, and they disappointed. And then the next week came, they disappointed. It's like what happened in the pay per view didn't happen.
Right.
This is my fear with AEW, and we say this damn near every pay per view. Man, they put on one hell of a show for a pay per view, but they don't follow through. And I hope this isn't the case. I really hope now that Edge is back that he will have some type of an influence on Tony Khan as far as being in his ear, at least about their storyline that he's involved with. That because it's Edge, because of his experience, because of the mindset he has for professional wrestling, the eye that he has for it, that he won't allow Tony Khan when it at least comes to their storyline for it to kind of get blow in the wind without them following through. Um, but unfortunately, that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting for there not to be any follow up with what happened only because of past experience. I want to be wrong, and I hope I am wrong.
With that being said, Tony Khan's got a plethora of experienced wrestlers. I mean, Edge, Christian, Mox, Jericho. I mean, shit, you can name 7 more without even blinking. All right. Samoa Joe. All these guys got a plethora of experience. Now, just because you got the experience doesn't mean you're a good booker or a good idea guy, you know. But you'd think with some of these guys, somebody'd hit gold. Okay. Now, with that being said, too, we forgot to mention that there was a return last night of someone we hadn't seen in a while either. Kenny Omega, and he looked
Yeah.
good. He was in a suit. He looked good. But I don't know if he's quite ready to go back to a full active um, roster slot or just going to come back, here and there or whatnot.
Well, I know that he either just had his first match, I think it was in New Japan for wrestling, or he's about to have it. But I know that either just happened or is about to happen. I believe it has happened already, just because I read an interview that he where he said that he did not want his first match to be at AEW, that AEW didn't need him right then and there. But boy, was he wrong. We desperately need you. Kenny Omega, if you should happen to accidentally on a drunken day come across this podcast and for whatever reason you hit play, listen to me. AEW, you are wrong. AEW desperately needs you, because I don't care how much they're saying that this has been their most profitable year, right? It's only because of the deals that they got with CW and with Max. Because without those two, make no mistakes about it, this would not be their most profitable year at all. AEW needs some work. And I say this because I love AEW, right? So we need a Kenny Omega, even if it's in a management role, because I have to believe that his management role within his character is going to be much different than a boring ass shit we had. No disrespect towards Christopher Daniels, but it wasn't any good with him. He didn't add anything to it. I have to believe that Kenny Omega would at least add something to it if he was in that role. So whatever role he plays, we need him back with AEW.
Yep, yep. No, I even as just a persona in the ring, with a mic in his hand, he's entertaining. He's not CM Punk level entertaining on the mic, but he's entertaining enough where I'm still gonna watch and not go smoke a cigarette because I want to hear what Kenny's got to say. So yeah, I'll take Kenny Omega even as an on-screen personality. You know, I'm looking forward to seeing where Ricochet goes. I'm looking forward to who will come to his um, aid, I guess. Who's gonna back this new Ricochet, whether it's gonna be the Hurt Syndicate or not, or Leo Rush and Action Andretti. I don't know. But I'm looking to see who he's gonna ally himself with.
Yeah, and you brought up the Hurt Syndicate, and we're just getting back to our podcast from the holidays, and we in the past, we didn't recap Wednesday night's go home show. Um, and I tell you, Shelton Benjamin losing that match and not being part of this pay-per-view, I don't know, man. I don't know if that was the right call or not. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. They now have Shelton Benjamin with his third loss. It's too soon for Shelton Benjamin to be having these losses. He's going to lose this what's the word I'm looking for? He's going to lose his persona that he has coming in as this amazing wrestler who's involved with a faction that is just absolutely ruthless, kind of like ruthless aggression. You remember those words, ruthless aggression, right? That's kind of what the Hurt Syndicate is all about, hurting people. We seen the last time he lost, MVP kind of giving him a tongue lashing and basically said, "You better not fucking let this happen again," right? It happened again. How many more losses is it going to take before Shelton Benjamin has now lost that persona as being this guy who should be feared because he can hurt you.
Well, the thing is, um he's carried that with him for years. WWE did the same thing to him, and here's this guy that, what? If Brock Lesnar was never around, Shelton Benjamin would have been the next big thing. And unfortunately, because he's a minority, he was overlooked. All right. Shelton Benjamin could go toe to toe with Brock Lesnar. I'd bet money on it. I'd bet money on it. All right. Yeah, Brock's got the MMA experience, but Shelton was still, a wrestling uh, person in college too. All right. And Shelton Benjamin, at his age, what is he, late 40s? He can still go. The guy doesn't look like he's lost a step in the ring.
He, in my opinion, he could still be world champion and it be believable.
Oh, yeah. You know what? My jaw would drop and hit the floor if he was world champion. He should have been. He should be.
Yeah, and look, nothing at all against his partner Bobby Lashley, right? Nothing against him. I love Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley it's believable when he absolutely goes to the ring and just destroys you. But he is nowhere near as good as a wrestler as Shelton Benjamin. It may be more believable that Shelton Benjamin goes in there and rips your guts apart, right? But Shelton Benjamin has that wrestling, behind being a great wrestler behind him. And it's also believable for Shelton Benjamin to be this ruthless guy. Maybe not as ruthless as Bobby Lashley, but nonetheless, he still has that believableness of being ruthless. So you add his ruthlessness with his ability to wrestle, he's a little bit better than Bobby Lashley, in my opinion. But unfortunately, I would foresee Bobby Lashley being a world champion before they do it for Shelton Benjamin. And I think that's a shame because Shelton Benjamin, again, amazing.
Right. He kind of reminds me of if Arn Anderson and Kurt Angle had a son.
Yeah, I can see that.
That'd be Shelton Benjamin. Because he's got that ruthlessness of Arn, but he's got that technical finesse of Kurt Angle. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
I just see he's wasted his prime years on people that didn't give a shit about him. Now he's in his twilight of his career, even though he looks phenomenal and looks like he's actually 10 years younger than what he is, actually. And he moves like he did 10 years ago. So, I can't fault him for that. But he's been a waste of
Talent.
right, exactly. A waste of talent. Thanks. I couldn't come up
Yeah.
with the word.
But this is the thing. Look, he had a really decent run in TNA. The problem though is TNA is not on that national level. So there was a lot of eyes that was not on TNA, which means those eyes were not on Shelton Benjamin in order to appreciate what Shelton Benjamin has brought to professional wrestling, right? Look, even JR has once said that Shelton Benjamin was the pound for pound, the best pure athlete you can ever have. And as far as I'm concerned, right now, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin should still both be undefeated. And look, if that means that Shelton Benjamin shouldn't have been put in this tournament, then so be it. I would prefer him not be in the tournament and they be undefeated and be this group that people fear than for him to be in this tournament and then get beat. Um, if you didn't want to put the belt, because come on, look, I'll be honest with you. As much as I love Ospreay, I really believe that as good as that match was last night between him and Okada, can you imagine it being Shelton Benjamin against the Rainmaker? That would have been, no disrespect, not taking anything away from Ospreay and his talent. I think though Shelton Benjamin versus Okada would have been about this much better, to be honest with you.
Or Benjamin against Osprey. You know, either opponent would have been great with Benjamin. I mean, Benjamin can carry anybody, but he doesn't have to carry either one of those two. All right. At this point, I think the best route for the Hurt Syndicate is to go for tag team titles because neither one of them is going to be world champion. So you might as well just go and dominate the tag team titles. You know.
Now I tell you, Mark, the one thing that I am disappointed, and again, in my opinion, this is AEW dropping the fucking ball once again. But it seemed like Swerve Strickland has somewhat moved on from his feud with the Hurt Syndicate, and now he's concentrating on
Ricochet.
On Ricochet. Nothing against Ricochet. I think they'll have a great match, right? But to me, this feud shouldn't be over with. You know, I was really expecting that the end of this feud would be Swerve turning on Prince Nana and joining the Hurt Syndicate. That's what I want to happen. We've talked about it before. These guys would be perfect to represent this era for Horsemen.
Yeah. Well, you know, it could lead up to Ricochet joining the Hurt Syndicate too, though.
You know what? I just don't think. Hold on. I don't think, as good as Ricochet is, I don't picture that being a natural fit. You know, I don't think they look good together.
No, it's the Kendall Windham of the Four Horsemen.
Wow, dude, you're right. Just doesn't go.
Yeah. I like Kendall Windham, but he wasn't a Four Horseman. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I look, man. I love peanut butter. I like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese and peanut butter don't go together, though, right? They each have their own place. What?
The hell you say?
They have their own place. And that's how I feel about Ricochet with the Hurt Syndicate. Ricochet, I just gave him props for being this heel, right? But he has his own place. It's not with the Hurt Syndicate at all.
When it comes to Swerve, it's in the name. I expect to swerve somewhere.
Well, I was talking about Ricochet, but Swerve, you know what? Swerve and Hobbs in the Hurt Syndicate, that would complete that faction. And this would be an unstoppable faction.
Yeah, you can kiss the Death Riders goodbye in that case.
Absolutely.
You can have your Claudios, and your John Moxleys, but yeah, I'll take money on Bobby Lashley, Hobbs, and Swerve, and Shelton Benjamin any of the week.
But you know what?
Damn.
Mark, I tell you what, but this is the thing, and you said you could kiss the Death Riders goodbye. You know what? If Swerve and Hobbs was put with the Hurt Syndicate, unfortunately, it's almost like I'm starting to get to know Tony Khan, how he thinks. I guarantee you the first thing he would do would be to have the Hurt Syndicate against the Death Riders. And I don't want to see it. I have no interest in seeing that shit. I don't, because I'm not impressed with the Death Riders. They are not this believable, unstoppable faction to me. And to put the Hurt Syndicate against the Death Riders, Tony Khan would have the Death Riders go over. And I think that would be the end of me watching AEW at that point.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there had to be some sort of build-up and whatnot, but yeah, Tony Khan would just flush it out in the next pay-per-view, and you'd get a 2-week build, and it'd be so anticlimactic, wouldn't even be funny.
Yep, I agree. But anyway, guys, this wraps up our recap of World's End. As I say, guys, please subscribe. It's absolutely free. And look, I have some exciting guests that's going to be coming on the show. Bob Cook. I'm was that
I thought you're getting George South too.
I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get George South. He's one of the people that's on my radar. But yeah, there's some exciting talent that I'm hoping to get on here. I have a couple of them with that's definite, so be looking out for that. Baby Doll is going to be back on soon. I have this thing I want to do with her. It's going to be really, really fun. I just had to iron out the details. I was waiting to after the holidays. I told her I'd give her a call to talk to her about it after then. So again, subscribe. Look, we are a very young podcast, and I'm reaching for the stars here to get people on here that are legends within professional wrestling. Because look, there are a lot of enhanced talent from yesteryear. They were called jobbers back then. That your favorite legends like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, they wouldn't be who they are without these guys. I've had these guys come on and talk about these things. But anyway, you guys, we will be back be back on Tuesday for our recap of Monday Night Raw. We will see you guys then. And until then, Mark, what you got to say?
Vikings win. Ring the damn bell.
Vikings will win. Ring the damn bell.
All right.